Hey and welcome to this new video of learning ECMAScript6. So in this video we will learn about promises. So promises, or before going into promises, you need to master callbacks, or at least to understand callbacks. And as always, to understand more promises, we will do them with example. So let's create our first function. So const, I will name it test promise. It will be equal to new, and we will instantiate the promise like we do with class. So we have a class called promise. It's defined in ECMAScript or in JavaScript, you know it. So we will directly instantiate this new class, and in this new class it have like a function in here, so we will type it as an arrow function like this. And this function, it have two parameters. First it called resolve, and the other it called reject. So resolve, and we say reject. And here let's make a set timeout, for example. So set timeout, and now we know that set timeout have also two parameter, a function and the time. So we will do this as an arrow function, and after that here let's make it second as always, and here let's just type like a simple console log. So console.log, and let's type, for example, promise OK. And sorry, here not console log, but we will do the resolve. So resolve promise OK. So now let's invoke this function, and if it is like a normal function, we will invoke it like that with its name, like this, promise. But since it's like a promise, or it's initialized with the promise, so to invoke it we need to add dot then. So it's like this how we invoke like a promise or a function in a promise function. And here in the parameter we will give it also like an arrow function like this, and it have, just an example, we will give it one parameter, for example resolve message. And now let's have our console.log, and let's write it as the ES6 way with backtick, and let's type, for example, look like resolve message. So this resolve message, as you might notice, it's a callback. So now before that I run it, I want like you to stop the video, see it well, and like type in the comment the output that I will see in here. So first we initialize like our test promise function, but we initialize with promise constructor. It has a resolve and a reject. We use a resolve and we type a message promise OK, and after that we invoke the function test promise with then, and we give it a function, the resolve function or resolve message, and after that we call this resolve message inside like the body of the function. So here what we will see in the console is look like, and after that the resolve message, and the resolve message is promise OK. So let's run and see, and here it is, look like promise OK, because here we give it one parameter, and here there is resolve message is this resolve, and here in the function we use just the resolve. If we give it, for example, another parameter, it will be the reject, and we will see the reject in, I will say, in another example. And here if we try and type like, for example, a console.log, but outside our function or our promise function test, and let's type, for example, should run after promise, or after promise resolve, or just after promise. If I run again, I will see this message first, and after that look like after that, like, my promise or test promise get executed. If I want, for example, to make sure, like we did with callback, we make sure that this first, for example, function, or the first like body of the function execute first, then after that continued code, we just add another then in here. So dot then, and we can type as many then as we want. And also, like, it have a function. Let's make it a narrow function this time. Let's give it just without any parameter, and let's copy this inside in here, and let's now re-execute and see. So it will wait 1 second, and after that look like promise okay, and after that my message I should run promise after promise. If I want, for example, another thing, but I need to make sure that the first function or the first code execute successfully, and also the second code execute successfully, then execute third, I just type here another then with the function as parameter, and let's make it just like an empty one, an empty arrow function one, and let's type something else, for example console log I don't know, last, for example. Clear, run now, and we will see this, even if we type in here like another set timeout. So let's see it, and let's copy this and make it here. So now clear, it will wait 1 second and like print this. Why this? I should run last, and after that, so here maybe I put some error. Clear run, and now they are okay. Now let's see this reject, and let's here make like a simple math condition. So if math dot random, it's, for example, greater than 0.5, if it's the case, reject. And for example here let's type promise rejected, or promise not okay, for example, not okay. And here, if we want, for example, to see or to have the reject, it's like the try and catch, or in the expectation, or yeah, the expect that we see, we type here just dot catch, and after that it have like then let's use, for example, function, call it reject message, and it will also be like a narrow function. And here let's type console.log, and let's type, for example, or let's type it like ES6. So error, and here it will be this reject message. And what's the reject message is this reject promise rejected and not okay. So let's add here an and what this math random do, so it's to give us a random number between 0 and 1. So if the number is greater than half, it will be rejected, and we will see this message. If it's not, we will see like all those three messages. So let's clear and let's run, and we see that first, oh, it's okay. Let's see again, run again, it's bigger than 0. again it's bigger also than 0, so let's type here another, for example 1. We know this 1 is greater than half, so directly it will be rejected. So clear, run now, and we see that error reject message. Here I forget the dollar and the bracket. So clear, run, and we see that it catch the reject and error promise reject and not okay. For example, here we can put them if, for example, we want to access to some file and we do not have like the promises or the permission or the right permission, so we need to put them in if and else or in condition with reject and resolve. And if we want like to access to reject, we see that with catch with the exception, try and catch. So you can like consider this then like try and catch. It's like catch is when we reject. Let's do another example. So I will make this as comment, and let's make another example. So function num added, for example, I want just to add 2 numbers, for example number 1 and number 2, and here let's return, in the return let's return new promise. So new promise, and now we know that promise have like a function that have 2 parameters. The first one is resolve and reject. And after that let's create a new variable, const, for example, added number or added nums equal number 1 plus number 2. After that let's make a set timeout. So set timeout, also it have 2 parameters. The first one we will type it as an arrow function, and the other one it will be like the time that he will wait. Let's do this time just half of a second, and resolve the number. So resolve, after that do that added number nums. So now let's invoke now this function. So num other, and in the parameter it have, for example, 120 dot then, and we said that then it have like parameter, and inside the parameter we need to give it a function, and it will be an arrow function. So here like this, let's call it, for example, data, and here let's cancel log this data. So cancel log, and here, for example, total is, and total it will be the data. And basically what this data is just this resolve or the added number. So here let's clear and run again, and here it is, the total is 120. If we here, since we have just one parameter, or just one parameter function, and if you still remember in the video of the function and arrow function, we said that we could type this even more easier to read, and just like this, without the bracket and without also those parentheses, just like this. And now if we run, it should also work. So let me just make it bigger so that you can see. It's clear, run again, and here it is, it's working. Here if we want, for example, let's use also the reject. Sorry, here reject, and let's type here, for example, if added nums, for example, is bigger than 100, resolve it, and else reject. And here reject, and let's type in a reject. Let's type here just, for example, let's type just plus, that's mean it's bigger, that's mean it's bigger than 100. And here in the reject, let's just make that here minus, that's mean it's less than 100. So now we have two things, sorry, not here but here. So we will have like two parameters, so I need to make it function all the way like this with bracket. So now copy this inside, and here, what's this for? Don't need like, so here, and yeah, and after that I will type catch, for example. And for the catch also, let's give it, for example, data or something else, for example reject data, and also it will be an arrow function. And here let me just copy and paste this, and after that we will change it to, let's type, for example, less than 100, and here let's type our reject data. So here let me just tell it, so here it will be just 30, this means it's working. I hope that I did not like forget one of those, because it will cost me an error. Run less than 100, and it's 13. That means it's in the catch. Here it's bigger, so let's make it bigger than 100. So now it will be total is, so run, and total is plus 100. So that means that our function are okay and good to use. So this is like just another example of the promises, and just a simple one how we can use like the resolve and reject. And you can, for example, just imagine the other use of them, or where you can use them. For example, as I told you, if you want, for example, to get access to data in some file, and you don't have, or you want to make sure that your user have the right privilege and permission to access to that file. So here in this case, I think like promises, it's a good use, it's better than callbacks. So here you just type resolve and reject, and for example here you have your condition, and in the reject, when filling, for example, you show him an example and just a message that he don't have the right privilege to access to that file, or something like that. So I think this is or this will be all for our video for the promises. Just go and do another example, maybe of you think of some other example and you apply them. First, like try to write them with callbacks, and after that go and try to transfer them into promises. And in the next video we'll be talking about the fetch API, I think. So see you next.